At the University of Arizona Bio5 Institute, we are focused on tackling complex challenges such as disease, hunger, water and food safety, and other health and environmental issues facing our families, communities, and the world. Bio5 brings together hundreds of multifaceted experts that include world-class scientists, engineers, physicians, and computational researchers in a team science environment designed to creatively solve difficult problems. This approach has resulted in disease prevention strategies, promising new therapies, innovative diagnostics and devices, and improved food crops. Join us each week as we talk about science with researchers, staff, and students from the University of Arizona's Bio5 Institute.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Science Talks, hosted by the University of Arizona's Bio5 Institute. My name is Sean Caden.
And I'm Brooke Moreno.
And in this series, we will continue our talks about Bio5 seed grants, specifically the ones that were awarded to launch the COVID-19 specific projects. As I'm sure everyone is aware, the pandemic has shifted the way we do business. To address this global challenge, Bio5 rapidly dispersed funds to supply 13 interdisciplinary teams to directly address COVID-19. With that funding, researchers could pursue basic science, technology, clinical and/or population-based research projects. During the course of this series, we will learn more about the inspiration behind some of those teams' projects, what the rapid funding allowed them to do, and the progress that they've made towards their goals. Today, we are joined by Jianqin Lu, an assistant professor in pharmaceutical sciences and a Bio5 Institute member. Thank you, Dr. Lu, for joining with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I see in your bio that you went to the University of Pittsburgh. So my biggest question to you, and it's not science related, is, unless you're an environmental scientist, do you miss the winters there?
That's a good question. Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, during summer, I miss totally because in Arizona, the summer is too hot. Other than that, I'm fine.
As a fellow East Coaster, because I grew up in Syracuse, New York, which is a little bit north of Pittsburgh, I do want to let you know that it's 40 degrees currently in Pittsburgh. And it is not 40 degrees here in Tucson. So
it's beautiful and sunny.
Yeah, I still remember the days when I am digging out my cars from the snow, on the street.
So that's probably something you don't miss. But
oh wow!
But
I'm a desert rat, so I've seen people shovel their cars out in movies. That's a real thing.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
It is a real
thing. Hard.
Ice scrapers. That's another thing. We don't need ice scrapers typically in this town, but I know when you were getting your PhD at the University of Pittsburgh, you may have needed those. So, So we'll jump into some science questions. I'll let Brooke take it from there and.
Yeah. So looking at how you pivoted your research over to COVID research, how did your background in pharmaceutical science allow you to quickly pivot your work to focus on COVID?
So first of all, my lab's research focusing on developing like nanotherapeutics, basically using nanotechnology to address the limitations associated with the current or existing therapies, such as toxic or chemotherapeutic agents. Because those drugs are very toxic, right? By making those toxic drugs into the nano drugs, not only can we reduce the systemic toxicity associated with those naked drugs or free drugs we call, but it can also improve their therapeutic efficacy by preferentially delivering them to the disease target. So such as tumors, while avoiding poisoning the healthy tissues, because you are delivering more drugs to the target, while reducing the drugs being distributed to the normal or healthy tissues, right? That's how we avoid and reduce the systemic toxicities by using the nanotechnology.
So fascinating.
So this concept has been demonstrated in a number of FDA-approved nano drugs. So here, why we want to jump in to do some COVID-19 related research is that current drugs that has been used for treating COVID-19 are also frequently suffered from the poor efficacy and adverse effects. So those unwanted toxicities associated with those COVID-19 drugs. So which significantly limited their clinical application in treating those COVID-19 patients, right? So just like help other drugs, like chemo drugs, nanotechnology can also help make existing COVID-19 drugs safer and more effective.
Interesting. And so you're looking at chemo drugs. Are these COVID targeted drugs? Are these antivirals? Are these symptomatic drugs? What are these?
So that's a good question. Actually, we have been, so along with my collaborators, Dr. Jianqin and Dr. In Chen, we have been funding two seed grants from Bio5 Institute. So the grant awarded with Dr. Jianqin involves in developing the nano drugs for two small molecule drugs called chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine.
Okay.
So these two drugs originally are used to treat malaria. But recently, I mean, since the COVID-19 began in China and Europe, scientists have tested that these two drugs are very effective in controlling and preventing the virus in patients. So during the clinical trials. However, the problem is that these two drugs' efficacy is poor because of the poor pharmacokinetics and the bioavailability.
Okay.
So therefore, you have to inject or use much higher dose in order to reach the measurable efficacy in patients.
I see.
So this is a practice that can lead to the toxicity because you are using a much higher dose than the regularly used dose, right? So patients will not be able to tolerate that high dose. But under the current condition for the severely infected COVID-19 patients, there is no choice. So not many drugs available right now. We just dose a patient with very high amount of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. So these two drugs are effective, but are very toxic. So they can also cause a lot of side effects.
I see.
So initially, Dr. Jianqin reached out to me and talked about this project. I was very excited because I feel like I can use my pharmaceutics background and nanotechnology expertise to potentially rescue this drug and make these two drugs more suitable for clinical application for treating COVID-19 patients. Yeah, so this is project one. Another project is collaborating with Dr. In Chen in the same department. So in this project, we are working on a protein drug like interferons. So interferon is the protein that can trigger a lot of immune response. So the name actually was given because of their ability to interfere the viral replication.
Okay.
So which fit into this COVID-19 virus perfectly, right? We can use this interferon to interfere the COVID-19 virus replication, but we have to do it in the right way. If you dose the patient directly with the naked interferon, so those proteins, so they are not targeting the diseased tissue. So the main target is the lung part, right? The lung organs. So we want to target the lung. So instead of targeting lung, they will randomly distribute to all parts of the body, causing lots of autoimmune disease, like immune-related adverse effects. So that's why we want to do the nano carrier delivered interferons to improve their delivery efficiency to the lung tissue while limiting their distribution to the healthy tissues.
I see. Fascinating. Well, can I first say that was a spectacular, what was that, a 2-3 minute overview of some really heavy molecular biology concepts. So kudos there.
Well, you know, and talking to lay people. So, I mean, I had several questions that were going when you were talking. It's how does this work kind of next step for clinical trials if you develop something that you think is a very promising drug that can be used? Does it have to go to a clinical trial, or I mean, are you working with collaborators in other countries as well? You've mentioned a couple of your collaborations.
Yes, my two collaborators are all from U of A at the same department, College of Pharmacy. Because I am a pharmaceutical scientist, my job is to repurpose these two drugs by making those drugs into nanotherapeutics.
Got it.
Okay.
Then Dr. Dean helped us do the pharmacokinetics in animal models. So we found that this nanochloroquine and hydroxychloroquine indeed deliver more drug to the lung tissue compared to the healthy tissue. So which indicated that we are having a very good safety profile, as well as a high likelihood to achieve better efficacy compared to using the free drugs.
Mhm.
For the interference part, so Dr. In Chen is still actively working on evaluating if this nano interference works better than free interference in a number of cells, like cell lines, those like airway cell lines. So mimicking the lung tissues, basically. So we're still working on that, but we expect that this nanotechnology enabled interference will induce robust, like antiviral immune response, and also will repress the coronavirus replication, and the efficacy should be much higher than the naked or free interference without like nano carriers.
Interesting.
And from your area of, so it's pre-COVID-19, your areas of research, where would you, I mean, you had a lot of experience in working in infectious diseases or using this technology in infectious diseases, or was this a pivot for you into a very specific area that you're like, okay, well, we're used to working in these areas, but now we have to work in these areas to try and take what we know and collaborate with these groups and find a way of attacking this very specific problem. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a good question. So actually, I indeed pivoted my previous research to specifically work on the COVID-19 like infectious disease, because originally, most of my research is focused on cancer. So we are developing like effective, robust, or safer nanotherapeutics for treating various different cancers, like pancreas cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, prostate cancer. So I've never worked on infectious disease, but that's a very good opportunity. And also I feel like we're also responsible to respond to this global pandemic by chipping in and contribute based on my specific like expertise. So I can make a difference here by through collaborating with my colleagues, because they are the expert in infectious disease or toxicity. So we can make drugs safer and more effective. So, yeah.
What you've said is what Bio5 tries to do. Bio5 tries to take people in different areas and bring them together. Yeah. Like Brooke and EOT and Sean in the business office, we come together and we're trying to add our levels of expertise to combat, real, I mean, there's never been a situation like we're in now where we have to bring, a lot of different people to try and fight a global issue that is impacting every single person on this planet's lives, and it really is, it's so remarkable to hear about people who are put on okay, well, this isn't typically what I do, but I'm going to do it because I think I can help be part of the solution.
Yes.
Absolutely. Did the CDC from Bio5, did that enable you to quickly form these connections with Dr. Ding and Dr. Chen? Did it take a while for you to get going once you had the funds, or did you really hit the ground running?
Yeah, we hit the ground running right away. So actually, before we got funded, we already ordered or acquired some materials. So the Bio5 seed grant like came in rapidly and timely, actually. So once we got funded, we could use those like money immediately to purchase those research materials required for our research. So we were truly like grateful for the Bio5 seed grant. So without this grant, we will be unable to start this project like timely and as soon as possible to catch up with this like virus spreading rate, right? So right now they're spreading and like alarming rate. So it's so fast. We need to develop more useful drugs and therapies to combat this virus. So even though we have the vaccines right now, it's going to take at least 1 year to vaccinate all the peoples in America or
Sure.
across the globe. But during this interim, still, like tens of millions of people will be infected for sure.
Absolutely.
As those people need effective and safer drug, right? But
Absolutely.
currently, there are not many drugs there.
Right.
So that's a
Wow.
problem. And so the purpose why we are doing we are trying to make the existing drug more effective and safer to fit the clinical application is because developing a new drug takes several years. So at least
Right,
5 to
right.
10 years under normal condition. You cannot like cut it short or reduce this process. So that's not safe for the patients. So that's not ethical. So it takes time to develop a new drug. So why don't we make existing drug more effective and safer?
Ah, why reinvent the wheel when we
Yeah.
can just make a better wheel,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
right?
So
Okay.
that's so we have to be like much faster, right? More like economic, efficient. So does not take as much money as we do to make a new drug, but we can still have a good efficacy and trying to make patient recover soon, right? So that's what we are trying to do.
Well, we really appreciate that. And you may know this, and in 2021, the Bio5 Institute will be celebrating its 20th year as a hub for supporting research. So 20 years Bio5 has been around. As we enter this significant milestone, tell us what Bio5 has meant and does mean to you.
So that's amazing, like 20 years anniversary of
Years, yeah.
Bio5. First of all, I'm like so fortunate to be affiliated with Bio5. So Bio5 is such a unique and one of a kind interdisciplinary, like upskill research hub or center. So if you look at the entire country, not many like institutions like Bio5, like we have here at U of A. So Bio5 encompasses a variety of different research directions, right? In one institute. So we have biology, pharmacy, public health, chemistry.
Yeah.
So we all like they're within one institute. So we can like effectively collaborate and reach out to other people to look for the expertise we needed to strengthen our collaboration and working efficiency. So that's cool. Yeah, about the Bio5 Institute. In addition, Bio5 Institute hosts lots of state-of-the-art and useful core facilities like mass spectrometers. I mean, a lot of upscale and state-of-the-art machines there, and animal bio imaging facilities. Because
Right.
my lab uses those facilities on a daily basis, basically,
Right.
which helped us a lot. So my lab is located in pharmacy, schools, just within 2 minutes walk to Bio5. So it's very close and convenient. Streamlined the research process and significantly enhanced my lab's working efficiency. So I really appreciate the presence of Bio5 in this medical center. And also I'm proud and fortunate to be a member of Bio5.
Well, we couldn't have said it any better ourselves. So thank you very much for
Excellent.
saying that. Really do appreciate researchers, and this is one of our goals, is to try to make things easier for researchers, because we know it's not easy. It is one of those things where, especially as you're shifting gears and we're constantly evolving, and we've all had to evolve quite a bit over the past year.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that and be able to help people such as yourself is one of our goals, and I'm glad that it seems to be working. So thank you for all you do.
Yeah. So looking ahead, Dr. Lu, what are the next steps for your COVID-based research, or how are you going to take this information back to your chemotherapeutic research?
So that's a good question. So basically, we use the seminal nanotechnology here to help develop safer and more efficacious COVID-19 therapies here, which basically opens up a whole new research direction for me. Because I previously worked on cancer therapy. Right now, I also work on the infectious disease, like using malarial drugs or like viral drugs, like proteins. So which really like expanded my research portfolio. So that makes me like very excited. So in addition to cancer, I can also do the infectious disease.
Ah, very cool.
To address the global public like issues
Yeah,
we're facing right now.
absolutely.
We know quite a few virologists too. So if you're interested in meeting and talking to virologists, I've got a list.
Sure, sure. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Well, you know, we manage, one of the things that we do at Bio5 is we do help researchers with their pre-award and their post-award. So that's kind of in my neck of the woods. But
Yeah.
but I'm glad that we were able to get those funds to you, and hopefully the results will continue to pay dividends down the road. Do you anticipate any of the results and the data that you've obtained through this project will be put into future grants?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Yeah, we are working on some grants, and also we are working on papers. So a lot of things coming out of this grant. Yeah.
That's good.
That's what we like to hear.
Good. So I think it's another time for our non-science question, Brooke. If you want to throw him a curveball, if you could throw him a curveball.
Throw him a curveball. Let's see a curveball. Well, we already established we're not going to talk about football and sports at this time.
Okay.
Next
So
week, we can talk next week. Yeah.
Right.
Next time.
So I'm curious, outside, so it sounds like you've partnered with Dr. Ding, Dr. Chen, who you said were both in your college of pharmacy. Have you had opportunities to collaborate with researchers outside of pharmacy in other departments or colleges on campus?
Yes, I also collaborating with like clinical oncologist at UA Cancer Center. Because so that's related to my cancer project, because one of my like therapies is gonna like launch maybe early clinical trials, but yeah, we are still like negotiating or in the process of doing that. In addition, I'm also collaborating with an immunologist at Department of Immunobiology. Yeah, for the immunotherapy related work.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And then outside of the lab, have you had the opportunity to collaborate, with us, people not at the bench, to share your research, but members of the community or other non-scientifically based audiences?
Non-scientifically based. Not really.
Not really.
Most of my time, like dedicated
No, it's
to the
well,
lab.
that's a really cool opportunity. But I mean, this is the first step, is just communicating your work out, which is another facet of Bio5 that we try to do, is to help get the research out to the community, so they understand the cutting edge work that's going on. And again, I applaud you the way you communicated some complex molecular biology really well.
Right.
So I'm excited to push this out and help people see this.
So another thing I want to like bring up is that I was interviewed by KVOA, the Tucson
Great.
television like station several months ago about this Bio5 seed grant like research, like research.
One last question, and this is again non-science question. So tell us something about you that people, our listeners, or people who are watching this Zoomcast might not know from a non-science perspective.
Nonscience perspective. Okay, so look at the world. First of all, I'm from like Pittsburgh, so I'm a diehard Steelers fan. So although Steelers lost this year, I'm still gonna support him next year. So I think Ben Roethlisberger needs to come back. Although he threw 4 interceptions, but we need him. Without him, we cannot enter playoffs this year for sure.
Oh, he's definitely a great leader for that team.
Yeah, we still need 1 year, like transitional year, to find our franchise quarterback, right? But Ben needs to stay for another year, I think.
Oh, controversial statement, Dr. Lu.
Wow, there he goes. So a big Steelers fan. Yeah. All right. Well, you know, they've won a lot of Super Bowls over, you know, I don't know if you've ever, our last Dr. Pagriba Brown, she's actually been to 2 Super Bowls. So it's like we have a theme going now.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I mean, the first year when I arrived at Pittsburgh, the Steelers went to Super Bowl, but lost to Packers by 3 points.
Oh.
But after that, like it's been 10, 11 years. We never back to Super Bowl again. So
They'll get back there. They have a good organization, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry too much about that.
You'll be fine. You got to share some of the glory, okay?
yes, the two Browns.
The Browns could use some, yes.
Oh, wow.
So, Brooke, are you like originally from Cleveland, Ohio?
No, I'm not. I just a few years ago really got into football, and the way I chose to learn about the sport was to join a fantasy league. So
Okay.
that's where I really got some in-depth learning and exposure to the world of football. And what I realized is I really needed a team that I could root for.
Wow. And you picked the Browns?
Well, you
I
know,
mean,
they have a really cool history.
Yeah.
I thought the leadership changes over the years were really fascinating to me. There's just a big culture there, and I really love rooting for an underdog. So
yeah, Browns are a very good team right now. So they are very talented, very young, and quarterback, running back, wide receivers. The defense is getting back, but the secondary of defense should be improved.
I'm
Order
so
to
excited for
be
the years
achieved.
to come. I'm very excited. We'll see this weekend. They have a great opportunity to demonstrate their capabilities, and I'm excited.
Yeah, good luck to Browns. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Lu.
This Zoomcast just shifted gears to like a fantasy football and Browns versus the Steelers. That's great.
Yeah, don't worry, Dr. Lu. I'll shoot you an email on Monday.
Sure. So, Sean.
Yes, sir.
So, who are you rooting for? So, which team? So, which NFL team?
I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so that's kind of like I'm in Pennsylvania as well, but for no particular reason other than I liked them when they went to the Super Bowl in 1980. So, and they won the Super Bowl a couple years back, so they're out of the playoffs. But
with our boy Nick Foles.
With Nick Foles, who's a U of A grad. So.
Oh, really?
Yep.
U of A grads. Okay.
But I think for the most part, I'm glad that the Patriots are not in the playoffs. So that's what I'll say. And I won't say any more. I'm going to get in trouble. But as long as the Patriots didn't win the Super Bowl, I was going to.
So Patriots is gonna collapse. You know?
Right. Now that they don't have Tom Brady, so my dad will be a little upset about that comment.
We'll
but you know what?
see.
Oh well.
We'll see.
So we want to thank you, Dr. Lu. We really appreciate you joining with us today, and thank you for sharing the progress on your research and for spending some time with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me and having me here, and also support my research.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Bio5. Really.
Happy to do it. You're a fantastic member, and I'm so excited to get the word about your research out broader. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
So please join us for future Zoomcasts where we continue to highlight our amazing University of Arizona researchers. To learn more about the Bio5 Institute, please visit our website at bio5.org. And from all of us here at the Bio5 Institute, thank you very much for joining us.
Woo!
Bye.
To our audience for tuning in to another episode of Science Talks. Continue the conversation with us next time as we learn more about the science happening at the University of Arizona's Bio5 Institute.